All right, well, thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here. In the words of Bob Monty, who was my sophomore basketball coach, he would often say, shoot when you're hot or shoot till you get hot. And I was never good at basketball, but I think I kept some jokes, and my kids don't think I'm funny. So this is going to be an attempt at humor, and I'll tell jokes whether they land or not. I'll be inspired by Bob Monty. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to the award winners. Like Jimmy, I was a kid that was part of the Torquay Heroes, but I think one thing you didn't mention, I always thought the cheerleaders that you had were pretty easy on the eyes, so thank you for them. And then also to the parents, I remember the culture back and seeing those games and the excitement, and just thanks for showing us what winning looked like. To the wrestling team that just won, wow, I went to one jiu-jitsu class and I fell on the floor and I was sore for weeks, so can't believe you guys do that. That's amazing. It's do it at such an incredible level. It's easy to see that the wrestlers are definitely an athletic group that doesn't quite get as much attention in some of the other sports, but man, you guys worked your tails off, and fun to see that. And to Jimmy, for those of you that don't know this, we were runner-up in the senior class, most likely to get married, and that didn't work out, but we were best friends in high school, so pretty fun to go into this with you, Jimmy. Maybe there's still time for us, I don't know what the laws are, but Chris is pretty great too. And then I just want to say my family, wow, awesome. Grew up on 57th Street North, premium street, still gravel roads. Hopefully everyone gets a chance to do that, but my parents are here, and I'm really grateful for the values they instilled. And my brother, a little bit bigger, much stronger. Jonas was a little harder on him. Jonas never really talked to me about sports when I was on the team, but it's because we were sitting on the bench together. Brett, who's in the Hall of Fame for his football team, thanks for being here. And to Mom and Sandy Coy, I feel like you kind of raised me too, so thanks for the pizza corn pizza. Sandy, you cooked that so well, so thank you. So I thought I would use a little bit of my time to just share a little bit about the values that I learned in this place. I originally went to Harwood Elementary. Anybody get the chance to enjoy that carpeted gym? Yeah, awesome. Let's get that foundation and start working on the carpeted gym. I don't think those are good for our bodies. But then I went to Eastwood Elementary and I had a bus driver. Anybody get to ride the bus to school? So we were one of those folks that got picked up early, and we had Al the bus driver, and that's when I started to learn about technology, because they put cameras in the bus, and that's when you have to have better behavior. But I had the privilege of going on the bus for about 45 minutes on the way there and an hour on the way back, and that's where I learned about entrepreneurship, because Mom had a Sam's Club membership. Everybody ever been to Sam's Club? Awesome, great place, and she used to buy these boxes of blow pops, and so I would get a box of 100 blow pops, and I would sell them for $0.25 each, and I didn't have to pay for the cost of goods sold, so that was like plus $25 every box I sold. And when you have a captive market, that is awesome. And so that's kind of when that's what we're doing at Emerging Prairies. We're supporting entrepreneurship, and I just think if your parents can pay for your company's goods, that is a good strategy. But also I had Mr. Kircher. Anybody in Eastwood Eagle? Yeah, let's give it up for the Eagles, right? I think they're like an Ashoka Changemaker school, which is probably because Dr. Slutty's really good at her job. But Mr. Kircher, we had donuts with the principal, and we said the Pledge of Allegiance. And then one of those times we had one of those school fights, and it was a pretty awesome fight because the third grader beat the sixth grader. Anybody ever seen one of those fights? Those are awesome. I was generally the sixth grader in that example, but Mr. Kircher pulled us all in class. I remember this, and he talked to us about accountability. And he said, hey, these two people involved in the fight, they've got their responsibility, but any single one of you that didn't jump in, that's on you. And we all have an opportunity to be citizens and engage. And I've taken that very seriously in my leadership. I don't think you wait to be asked to help. My parents taught me this, but I think we all have an opportunity to apply that lesson and get involved. think of the Audison sisters. These ladies see problems and they solve them. Or all the board members that said, you know what? Our teachers need more resources to support our kids. And that really inspires me. Then I went to middle school, and again, I met a girl. I think she had been the Castleton homecoming queens. I learned you shouldn't have crushes on your teacher, but Miss Weber, she's here today, so thanks for being here. But also I had Mrs. Galt. Did anybody have Mrs. Galt? I didn't know you could do this as a teacher. So the way Mrs. Galt taught is she'd give you an assignment. You'd go home, you'd turn it in, and she would teach the lesson. And I didn't do so well in that class. But I'm so grateful for Miss Galt because she taught me how to learn. And she taught me how to tolerate ambiguity. And in a changing dynamic, whether it's a pandemic or the stuff happening at the federal level, she taught me how to learn and learn for myself and have that accountability. And I'm really, really grateful for her. Then I had a chance to go, and then I ran for student council, and like I got lost like really, really bad. So I read How to Win Friends and Influence People like as an 8th grader, and like that was awesome because then I got elected freshman year. It turns out you just say people's name, and if you're nice to them, you're more likely to get elected. So I think that applies at the local, state, and federal level. And then high school was pretty awesome. Had a lot of great experiences there. Really grateful for the lessons I learned. One from Mr. Clark, I think he's here, but like what an example of anything is possible. I mean, the fact that you had responsibility is just amazing. Like, I don't know who hired you, but that's pretty great. But I think in my role as a CEO, I think bringing humor into the process has always been something that works. And I know when I'm stressed, it's not as often, but I just want to say, Mr. Clark, the amount of tolerance for pranks that you had, I think was really great. There's a few that we haven't done yet, so just know that there's always tonight. Also, I just want to acknowledge buying my first beer. How many of you bought your first beer in high school? So we were at a state student council conference, and this is the year Mrs. Olson took the year off. Like, I mean, she did that most of the time in school, but we were at a state student council conference, and it's Jimmy and I think Andrew Mock was there, and like, we just took it upon ourselves. There's all these girls there at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we bought a beer. And then Mr. Gruters, our principal, drank it, so we didn't get to taste it that night. But I think about Mr. Gruters and all the work that he did of showing up for us before and after school, taking it upon himself. And man, that guy died too young, but he certainly was one of the good ones. I think about Mr. Anderson. Anybody ever heard of Mr. A? I think he had shorter shorts than Jeff Hornacek or Jazz. But you know, Mr. A would like drive us to these student activities, and we would go to all these small towns. And we're supposed to talk about future business leaders of America. But all the guy wanted to do was go to small town diners and eat the special. And so we went to like Steele and Carrington and all these places, and I just think like he inspired in me this idea of travel, and that's what I love to do with my kids. We just got back from Arkansas, and not a place everybody loves to go, but just like Mr. A, it's about exploring. I think about Mrs. Ryerson. Man, that lady has a heart of gold in her work with the New Americans, introducing us to folks from South Sudan or Bosnia. And one of the reasons I believe in this foundation is because of Mrs. Ryerson, because I watched her time and time again use her resources to help those that needed a little extra help. And then finally, I think about Mike, and I think Mike's here, but Mike was one of those guys that didn't have a fancy job or a big title, but he'd work late, and he'd show up, and he'd do his job when nobody was watching. And I think those are all examples that really helped me in my work. Then I got to be my senior year, and it didn't go the way I thought. I ran for student body president, and I had an incredible speechwriter. Zach Gistad, one of the best speechwriters you'll ever meet, and he's here today, and he's the North Dakota House Minority Leader. I got my ass kicked, my butt kicked again, and I didn't win, and I know like it wasn't because of the speech. And then I went out for a sports team, and we have great coaches, and that didn't go my way, and I applied for my own college, and I didn't get in, and that's when I learned to deal with adversity and challenge. And I was one of those kids that had my own set of personal challenges, but I hit it through success. And I think about Mrs. Scott, who was the one that spent a lot of extra time with me navigating through that. And I pay $180 a session for my counseling now. But God, I'm glad I don't have to pay her. But I think about Mrs. Scott and what she did for me, and showing up and listening, for caring, and just giving me that encouragement that I needed. And I was one of those misfits, those people that didn't quite fit in. And I was talking to her about my career path. She's like, Greg, your career probably doesn't exist right now. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I go to the counselor, and they tell me all these things, and she's like, Greg, you can create your own future. And I said to her, Mrs. Scott, what am I going to do with healthcare? She's like, Greg, you figured out far harder things. You can figure out healthcare. Ms. Scott, I'm proud to say, I am the one in the family that pays for healthcare, so I kind of made it in life. But I'm just so grateful for these values, and I work with Emerging Prairie as a national leader in supporting entrepreneurs, an organization that has the first kind of autonomous test bed in the country for agriculture. I just realized these lessons that I learned here at this school are what helped me get there, and I get to apply that every day. The other thing I learned as I scaled my career, it was this place were the ones that gave me the opportunities. It was Alex Winju, the student body president at the high school, that was going to fill the dome. And he asked me to be the advisor. So at 22, I took it upon myself to advise the 18-year-olds, and it created the largest youth food drive in the history of our state. It was when we scaled TEDx Fargo that we wanted to go from 100 attendees to 600 that Dr. Flowers said, I'll buy 100 of those tickets for our faculty. It was Zool, the council here, as we were looking for TEDx speakers and looking for speakers at our events, that found me DRC Christel, who's an incredible person. They went to our school from the Congo that's doing world-class ed tech all over the country. What I've learned about West Fargo is this isn't just a place about what happens in the classroom. It's what that damn sign said underneath the clock that whenever Mrs. Best and Miss Topkin had to write Jimmy and I those extra passes, said it was about West Fargo, was about being a citizen. And I'm grateful for my experience of learning how to be a citizen. Tonight I want to invite you to join my wife and I to support this foundation. It's a challenging world right now. It's dynamic. And yet, we have teachers, administrative support, the folks that clean our buildings, that show up and help. And for those of us with some extra resources, we'd love for you to consider that. My wife and I are going to be making a meaningful contribution this year and for the next few years to support leadership development and mental health. I think a lot of attention goes to the folks that are struggling with mental health, and the signs are obvious. My challenges in mental health, my signs were success. And it's taken a lot of work to work through that. Finally, I just want to say that I'm so grateful for my wife, and I'm so grateful for my 3 kids. I did not want to accept this award, but it was my kids when we were walking through these buildings, and the reason I didn't want to accept it, I didn't feel good enough. I mean, you look at these alumni and the folks on that wall, and it's amazing. But, my kids were here, and we were walking around this school, and they're like, Dad, why isn't your picture on the wall? And it's because I didn't have the courage to say yes. And I'm grateful for their inspiration and have that courage. So with that, it's an honor to be a Packer, and I hope we can all continue to support the teachers and the educators, both in this community and far beyond.